I recently appeared for my AWS Machine Learning Associate exam, and I failed that exam, which isn't a good news for me. So, to know what you not need to do so that you don't fail the exam, please continue to watch this video until the end. It might save you a few bucks and your time and effort. I was really confident with my preparation, but again, it's more about SageMaker and the tools associated with SageMaker Studio. And my score was 666, and the passing score you need is 720. It was really disappointing for me. I was disappointed because it's just a matter of two, three questions, which I needed more to pass the AWS Machine Learning Associate exam. But again, the mistakes which I made, I would just go through the video. I wouldn't share any slide because it's a real experience. And the so I would just put down and state what I did actually did. I mean, I was really close to passing the exam, but again, my motive now is not just to pass the exam, which again is not a good thing. I would be doing more about SageMaker model registry, model quality monitoring, as well as AWS code pipeline and AWS code commit. And even there were questions asked from Amazon Kendra, Amazon Messy, and I would just share a slide wherein I would be able to state what I actually did wrong and how it affected me. So it is kind of disappointing because you don't expect to. So I wasn't expecting to fail the exam, and I would just share my experience through a slide, which is better to understand. So this is my account, but um, I'm actually looking. Just give me a moment. I think I had this open. So if I go in here, so six, um, and I have learned my lesson. Why did I fail? I attempted, like, there were 65 questions in the exam, and I did watch few YouTube videos to get an understanding of what sort of questions are being asked in the exam. And I expected to pass, but didn't pass. I actually underestimated the exam difficulty. I wouldn't say that I focused too much on theory, but yeah, it's like you have to actually do a full model life cycle on the SageMaker Studio, and also understand how feature store works. And also, like, there was a question regarding the shadow testing, right? I didn't do that. Wherein you create a shadow model you create a shadow model and update the endpoint with the shadow model as well, and then perform the testing, right? So that is one over there, and so I also, I mean, there are, like, you need to practice more questions. That's absolutely clear. Like, without practicing questions, you cannot do a lot of stuff. So make sure you practice enough questions before you sit for the exam. I lacked real exam simulation, not necessarily. This is there, but again, I was also worried because I created an account. Using an email through which I cannot access through SSO, right? So I was so much worried about that, and I think that may be one of the reasons I couldn't do well in the exam because I wasn't sure whether I would be able to sit for the exam. although I had the start exam start link and the testing the system, but it didn't have any issue at all. So then I realized, I was worried for no reason, because I was really under pressure to. I mean, I was whether I will be able to sit for the exam or not because of the technical failures. So the most important thing which I got to know was you need to focus on your weak areas. I mean, weak areas can be different for each person. For me, it was more of how you start a model from one end to another end, and how you create multiple versions of it, and how you use AWS Lambda to retrain the model, and I was not very far from qualifying the exam, but now my goal is not just to qualify the exam, but to do it really well, which I will be performing again. Like I'll be taking the test again, and yeah, and like what I got to know is I was really sad, to be honest, like because I put a lot of effort to uh, like focus on AWS Machine Learning Associate. But I realized that, maybe you need to understand it's not about just machine learning, right? Most of the people think the exam is about machine learning. It isn't, it is about machine learning, but it is about knowing the components of mainly SageMaker, right? And a little bit about AWS Glue, AWS S3, IAM rules. It's more lessly focused on IAM rules and S3, but rather on the different components of SageMaker Studio. And so I will just, yeah. So I realize that like I mean failure. People do say it's normal, but again, you feel a bit of. I didn't feel good, to be honest. At least for next 1 or 2 days, I was feeling really down, and I mean, then I realized, I can't do anything about it, right? So that's the reason I chose to share my experience regarding the SageMaker, this AWS Machine Learning Associate exam. And I personally feel that it's good, like if you tell other people's what not to do. And yep, 357, 35788. So I'll share my screen. What are the things which I actually missed for the exam? I was initially worried, like, why do I need to set up the custom domain? I know how the SageMaker notebook instances work, but again, that is not enough. That's not a good idea. Like for example, I was able to practice this AWS Glue, right? But there are not many questions on AWS Glue. S3, Athena, right? And they also have a question on simple queue service, which is actually for your like it's more of I think streaming the issues, right? Wherein you actually allow the producer to send messages to a queue, and from there, then they pick up the message. And there were few questions on like mainly focused on SageMaker Studio, right? Like I'll just share where what I actually mean by that. Open Studio, right? So can you see, for example, when you are here, right? So there was no question asked on how you create a Jupyter lab and what is the difference between a shared notebook and a private notebook, and the more questions were asked on deployments, so endpoints, right? So you can create an endpoint right here, and also what you can do there, and also on the inference type, right? So instance type is large, right? I don't want to use large. So they actually have nothing less than large in here, right? And also real time inference type is real time, or you want I mean, or asynchronous real endpoint, or a serverless endpoint, or there are multiple types of endpoints, right? And also in the canvas, right? I had a question from this, um, but I think I was able to do the SageMaker data wrangler, which is actually in here when you run here, right? Explore different use cases of SageMaker canvas. So this video is basically telling what mistakes I made, which you shouldn't make, and it is like so. What I felt also went wrong was I did complete my exam earlier, more than what time was given to me, thinking like, oh, I have performed enough questions. It would be it would be like I would be able to do it easily, right? But that's not the case. And then I got my result in the evening and telling me, oh, you have failed the exam. Oh, this is your score 666, which is like 3 4 questions behind from passing the exam. So, and this this is something which I learned through this, and because I think I would be giving the exam again, and also understanding ML flow, right? This is also very critical for your exam, because you need to understand the model life cycle from training stage to deployment stage, and how you actually reuse the model, right? There were, and how do you retrain the model? How do you use AWS Lambda, right? Let me see AWS Lambda, right? I didn't practice enough on AWS Lambda, which is actually AWS Lambda, right? I can't see Lambda here. I don't know why has it been removed, or what's the issue? So, and also, but I did practice a lot on the hands-on part of understanding. Yes, there were a few questions on neural networks as well, the dropout layer, as well as early stopping mechanism, right? And how do you optimize the hyperparameter tuning? I think that I did right. And also reducing the validation loss as well as testing loss, and giving up the scenarios wherein how would you optimize the, for example, if the training accuracy is really high, but validation loss is initially high, then it reduces, then it becomes stable. What are you going to do about it? So it's mostly like there is no, and there are scenario based questions. All of them are scenario based questions, and also they test you on how you use certain steps for setting up things and solving the problems. So mostly focused on AWS products, like the product which you use for model design. Like, let me show you the model monitoring, right? There is a model monitoring which I have seen. SageMaker AI. But this time, I think I'm planning for better. Maybe score really good grade in that exam, because it is really expensive exam. Shouldn't try just by, oh, I'll be able to do it. And also you need a bit of practice on what is ground truth and when do you use it. How do you use ground truth for labeling data sets? And there are multiple questions asked on SMOT. I'm not, you guys are across SMOT, wherein you actually, for example, SMOT, right? So you use S mode to balance the imbalanced data set when the data set has multiple two classes and there is a imbalance created, right? So then you use S mode, and there were multiple questions asked on S mode, right? Maybe three or four. So nobody would tell you like the exact number of questions asked from a specific topic. And I think it's there are a few YouTube videos, but from them a few questions match, but not exactly what we think of. But yes, so this was my experience for giving the exam, and I would recommend you guys to like. And then what I actually did is I mean, try to use the local SageMaker by connecting your AWS access keys for the role from the AWS onto your local code editor, and perform the linear learner and the other algorithms and understand how the model lifecycle works. And that would be really helpful for the people starting out there. And this is my experience when I am not a regular user of AWS. I mostly work on Azure and Databricks. But again, because each platform has its own components and it takes you a bit of time to even get used to them, I try to connect with the local editor and try to perform all the functions, at least do a model life cycle and also do A/B testing, right? Wherein you compare the two variants onto an endpoint, having the same endpoint, but and then you make a full CI/CD pipeline, right? Like an ML ops. So that's something I would do in the next video. I would create a full model life cycle from and do the A/B testing scenario on a real time or on a real data set like Amazon data set. So that it gives you an in-depth overview of every sort of questions which can be asked from that topic. Um, until then, thank you for watching this video. And if you really like what I do, please consider subscribing my channel and also don't forget to like this video.